H-A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, we'll talk a little bit about leukemia, and I think it may be also lymphoma awareness month as we wrap up the month of September. It's been a big month. We'll also have our ministry spotlight right after this important message. Hey friends, we've got something really special to share with you today, a brand new children's book that's all about faith, family, and finding joy in the middle of life's challenges. It's called The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joy Rider. This heartwarming story follows a big brother in a wheelchair who uses his creativity, courage, and a whole lot of love to help his little brother and cousin overcome life's obstacles. Together they show us that joy isn't about what you have, it's about how you choose to face the ups and downs of life. This book is full of fun, adventure, and hope. It's perfect for bedtime stories, Sunday school libraries, or as a meaningful gift for the kids in your life. Plus, it's a great way to start conversations with your family about resilience, compassion, and faith. Pre-orders are open now, and when you order early, you'll be one of the first to get your hands on this inspiring story. Just head over to benandtravis.com/books. That's benandtravis.com/books and pre-order your copy today. Give your kids a story that will make them smile, laugh, and believe in the power of joy. I'm Travis Creasy, the pulpit minister at Westgate Church of Christ. That over there is Ben Hayes, all-pro counselor with Three Chord Counseling, Mars Hill Bible School, and the preacher at Highland Park Church of Christ. Ben, how you doing?
I'm good. I just got two words for you. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
So
Indeed.
it was a good weekend. A little stress during the games, but man, even things gone differently for us. What a slate of football games we got this weekend. There was some fun games on.
Yeah, Mississippi State. I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
you were literally that close to a great weekend, like legendary weekend of college football. But anyways, good try. Good try.
But Will Mayan didn't get to see much of any of it because he was reffing ball games all day. So, Will, how you doing?
I'm good. I mean, there's nothing like spending 12 hours on a baseball field with 8-year-olds. And the worst part about it is the mothers of the 8-year-olds that know nothing about the sport in which they are cheering for. But
don't even bring up fall baseball to a former football coach, okay? That's like... I should just be quiet because I'm going to get politically incorrect real quick. Will, thank you for your service in that and keeping your cool and helping those kids out, learning the hard knocks of life through sport, hopefully. And so, but we wanted you to kind of give us a little bit on our ministry spotlight this week. And of course, it takes on an extra meaning as we here on earth have lost a great soldier of Christ, but also rejoice. We don't mourn and grieve as the world does because we know that Dorian has moved on to an eternal reward, and we look forward to being with him again someday. But if you want to give us a little bit of background and spotlight on that ministry as you have served in it so well, Will.
Yeah, Partners for Africa was led by Dorian Flynn. Unfortunately, as you said, Dorian passed away this past week. So a spiritual giant in the kingdom has passed, but he has influenced 3 continents of Christians and people for Jesus. And so most recently where all of his time has been spent was in Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, but mainly there in Zimbabwe. And so Partners for Africa, they do a whole lot for a lot of people. They have several projects, one called the Dad Project, where they go in and they help dig wells. Walk for Water has been a part of that. I found out yesterday Dorian was already talking to Walk for Water about Healing Hands, about how many wells he would need and how they could help partner together. So they do a lot to bring clean water. They have the ACT project, which is the Africa Container Transport. And so a lot of deaths that Ben and I probably sat in at Mars Hill have been transported over to Zimbabwe, to the school there. I know my good friends in Tennessee just transported like 8 or 9 Promethean smartboards over to the rural school there in Africa that Dorian and Sherry have set up. They've got the Mom Project, where they are feeding orphans every single week. I think at one point there was like 1,200 kids they were feeding. And so some of the ladies will come in and cook meals. I was able, with Destin and Kenya, Ben's wife and daughter, to go and actually we fed like 120 kids one day. It's just a wonderful thing. It's kind of like an outdoor VBS, to what a lot of we do here in the States. Go spend a day, have a big fellowship meal, spend time talking to the kids about Jesus, the church. And then another thing is ACA, Amazon Christian Academy. So that's the school that Dorian and Sherry have set up. It is run by all second and third generation Christians. They're all in their 30s and 40s doing a tremendous work there. They're actually about to graduate their first class this upcoming, I think this next month, maybe November, December. And so that's really exciting. I hate that Dorian, missed that first class being able to graduate, but they're doing incredible things there. They're even talking about trying to build a university so that they can take kids that are what we would look at as fifth, sixth, seventh graders, take them in the school if they've done well in public education and walk them all the way through university. And so daily Bible classes, they're preaching. A lot of their kids are being immersed into Jesus. So just a lot of benefits there. And then, of course, they have a thing called the Shine Project, which is just equipping people with spiritual needs. And so Dorian always said two things. We're about good works so that we can spread the good news. And so I always thought that that was really cool that Dorian goes in and does everything possible to provide physical needs for these people that have, basic necessities that aren't available to them. Provide that so that he has an opportunity to preach Jesus. And so if there's a mission effort that your congregation, you as an individual are looking to support, you cannot go wrong with Partners for Africa. The way it's been set up, the visionary that Dorian was is going to probably last all of us because of his wisdom and everything that's going on. His wife has already texted and said, hey, we've all got to rally together. We got to continue this work. So I know the Lord has blessed it. I know the Lord is going to continue to bless it. But if there's something that you're looking to support, I know Crosspoint is a place that you can contact. Owens Crossroads is a place that you can contact there in Huntsville. Or you can just reach out to us. We've got connections that we can give you more information to help you get in touch with what they're doing over there. So just an incredible work. We want to give our heartfelt sympathy to the Flynn family and basically for Sherry and Dorian as well with all of us. So just an incredible work to be a part of.
And it's partners, the number 4 Africa.com.
Yes.
Is where you can find that information. And Dorian was just such an influence, like you said, on several continents, but his visitation and funeral was just absolutely packed out. That tells you what kind of influence he's had. People from several different states and I think a couple of countries maybe that came in to be there. So just a powerful example of what God can do in somebody's life. Thank you, Will.
Appreciate it, Will. Take it easy. Love on Jet for us. So as I mentioned in the intro, it is Leukemia Lymphoma Awareness Month, and unfortunately, that leukemia specifically for me, and even people that we know right now, think of the McCollums who are dealing with leukemia, and of course that's something that's going on with a lot of people. One of the influences, oddly enough, Ben, I know on the Friday refresh you shared an influence on you, a tragedy in your life that has really kind of brought about your seeking out and being a servant in the mental health field. Happened in September. September is also Leukemia Awareness Month, and so obviously the month of September has a big impact on us. And so I thought maybe for a moment we could talk a little bit about leukemia, cancer in general. Of course, we are believers in the Bible. We believe in Jesus. We are Christians. And so we know that, unfortunately, a part of life due to decisions, some decisions other people have made, consequences that we've chosen, that there is fallen humanity, and with that comes sickness and illness. And of course, there's a lot of weeds we could get into there. Today, we'll just deal with the reality that life is not always how we hope for it to be. But the beautiful thing, as we mentioned, even with Dorian, is that there is a hope out there that can bring peace in the middle of chaos. And you and I both know of people who've had it way worse than we have, but yet they face it with a smile and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, there's a passage we've been focusing on at school this month. We've been doing a different fruit of the Spirit each month, and this one's joy. And we've been looking, because it's joy in Chapel Elementary, we've been talking about Philippians. And Philippians, mentions joy and rejoicing and all those things. And so at the end, we're kind of right at the end of the month. We were talking today about rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. And then he talks about, not being anxious, but with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God that passes all understanding will guard your heart and mind in Christ. And so that idea of thanksgiving, even in the midst of hard times, rejoicing even in all times, no matter what it is, those things are tough. But we've talked about before on here, if you find a way to be thankful in stressful times, you find a way to be thankful even when it may be a good time to be negative, but if you can find a time to be thankful and you can find a way to be thankful, it a lot of times runs that negativity out. It's hard to be negative. It's hard to be anxious. It's hard to be worried and be thankful at the same time. So that part of your brain doesn't play real well together. And so when you're struggling with things, just start looking for things to be thankful for. And I think you did that a lot in your days in the hospital. You spent pretty much the month of October. We could talk about the month of September. Somebody was telling me the other day several things that had happened in them, and I said, well, it's kind of like that old song, "Wake Me Up When September Ends."
Yeah.
Like sometimes we're just like, let's get through September. It's a tough month. There's a lot of things that have happened in September, but October is kind of a tough month for you too, because it was right around the 1st of October, or
it was October the 16th. So
The 16th.
October 16th, diagnosed, went in, was supposed to be the 17th. I was supposed to go in. I was supposed to get to go home for a night. And unfortunately, the biopsy
said otherwise.
We won't get into all that detail, but I had to go immediately to Huntsville Hospital and was there till I think the day or two before Thanksgiving. And to your point, Ben, as I sit here and think about it, and maybe this isn't airtight, but can it really be joy? We oftentimes, I know you've preached on, I have, the difference between happiness and joy. Nothing wrong with being happy, but do we know if it's joy if it isn't in the difficult times? It's almost like difficult times reveal that it's actually joy instead of happiness. It's the circumstance.
Yeah.
And of course, Paul, we get in all the details that he's writing from a jail cell, and nothing like we get, like, maybe a hole in the ground, very few amenities. I've heard people say that, they didn't provide meals. Like, the people he lists in those letters are people who are literally keeping him alive by providing his basic needs. And yet here he is going, rejoice. Don't feel sorry for me. Rejoice in God. And so it's really the circumstances and the bleak ones that reveal whether we have joy or not. And maybe that's not an airtight statement, but literally just kind of hit me in the moment. So
there's some truth to that. And I don't know if you saw a clip the other day. I saw a clip from, I think it was Anderson Cooper and Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, and whether you're a fan of those guys or not, but they're talking about, and Anderson Cooper kind of gets choked up a little bit asking the question. And I think it was something along the lines of, you were thankful for the hard times, or, thankful in those difficult times. And I think his answer was basically, well, you gotta take the good with the bad. How do you even know, that you've had bad times if you haven't had good times? So you kind of got to be thankful in all of them. And I may have got that mixed up, but that's kind of how I remember the quote. But there's some truth to that. Like, to have the good times, we have to go through some tough times, and tough times reveal the joy, well, I mean, the scripture says, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your patience, produces this endurance, and let that endurance have its perfect result, and you'll be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. And so, I mean, how many of your guys loved to do conditioning during the summer
Yeah.
times?
Not many.
Did you love doing conditioning
Yeah.
during the summer
No.
time?
No.
But I mean, what kind of football team are you going to have without it?
Yeah.
What kind of
I think
basketball?
to your point, I think the quote was something like, you say, Stephen Colbert, you say that you're thankful for the thing that you wish had not happened.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah. And there's an aspect to that. And in our belief system, and that's to me, that's one of the strongest building blocks of our belief system as Christians, is that it tells you there is a positive outcome if you survive the trial, but there's also a positive outcome if you don't. And so, I came to grips with that. I mean, that was a realization for me that, and I've said this, you've heard me preach it, that I was leaving Huntsville Hospital one way or the other. And for God's purposes, right, I was wheeled out, breathing air and still living. And I know there are lots of people that since that day, that was not the outcome they had. But if they have Christ in their life, as Paul puts it very similarly, they have gone on to the place he desired to go, and it's kind of one of those, I oftentimes relate it to a cat. A cat lands on its feet in really either direction. And Paul proclaims that, like, however this works out, God will be glorified.
Well, I've always said that about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
He's going to deliver us, but even if he doesn't, well, he's going to. It'll be out of the fire, in a in a urn, or it'll be out of the fire, delivering us physically. And Hebrews 11 tells us stories of both. There were people who died doing what was right, and there were people who were able to live on, who were doing what's right. The same book, the same chapter. I think it's Acts chapter 10, isn't it? Where Peter is delivered from prison, but James was killed while he was in prison. And so there's no guarantee we get out physically, but there's always the hope and the knowledge of knowing that God's going to deliver us one way or another from those things. What he requires in those moments is just faithfulness, being faithful regardless of what we face, turning it over to him. And that's not always easy. I think I said in the Friday refresh, it's okay to be frustrated with God, to talk to God, to yell at God, to question God. Just don't stop talking to God. Keep bringing that to him, because when you're in those moments, that's part of the trial, is the questions and the wondering and the longing and the speaking to him about what the struggle is. So if you're going through leukemia, lymphoma, any other type of cancer, or any other type of loss today, then just know that you have an ear. God is always listening, but also his people. And so I think that was a big thing for you too, wasn't it, Travis? The fact that you had God's people on your side during that time.
For sure. I thought you were going to quote that country music song. If you're going through leukemia or loss or whatever, just keep on going. Not one of my favorite songs, but I do think about that when I hear it. Yeah. But no, I mean, and even post that time, I think one of the lies that is from the enemy, when I wrote the book, and one of the things that I battled with is, like, nobody wants to hear what you've got to say. You're not the only person that's ever been through leukemia or lymphoma or whatever you're going through today. And there's an encouragement in that there's somebody who has been through something similar, maybe not the exact thing. We speak to the wisdom of that as well. But man, just the overwhelming, response to that book that we wrote has been very encouraging from God's people. Because I definitely was like, nobody wants to hear what I got to write. People barely want to hear what I want to preach or podcast about. But some of the responses to the book and sharing, and specifically Whitney as a caretaker, has been really big deal. Big response and encouragement. That there are parts of it that nobody had been through exactly what I've been through because I have a different experience from everyone else. But then there's enough in there that people share with that it encourages them in that way too. I'm not by myself. So, man, just so much of it not being alone. I know, Ben, you deal in the mental health and the ministry, and both overlap. And so much of it is just expressing, hey, you're not by yourself. That's a lie from the enemy.
I talked in class last night a little bit about Ephesians chapter 3, where it talks about the deeds of darkness, expose them, and I shared that there's a relationship to that with the mental health world too, whether you're a believer or not a believer. Here is a truth: the things that you keep in the dark will continue to be a struggle. And so if you're struggling with anxiety, or you're struggling with, anger, or you're struggling with, pornography, or you're struggling with doubt, whatever those things are, as long as you keep them secret and you keep them in the dark, you're probably going to continue to struggle with them. And so a big key is, yes, giving it to God if you are a believer, but also finding people to give it to talk to. I mean, it's been huge for us, me going through the struggles that I went through, the loss I went through, Travis going through what he was going through, the other guys that are in our group, just, have someone to talk to walk through those difficult moments through, that you can call in the middle of the night or whatever that you need, so that, you're not doing it by yourself. And when you bring them out into the light and you expose them to the light, then a lot of times you can get the help that you need for it. And just don't keep it in the dark.
Is your church looking for meaningful ways to make a kingdom impact? Healing Hands International has been partnering with churches for more than 30 years to make real change possible. HHI is a faith-driven nonprofit that leads life-changing programs like Walk for Water, where communities come together to raise awareness and funds to drill wells around the world. But that is just the beginning. HHI works to aid, equip, and empower communities around the world, teaching families how to grow sustainable gardens, or helping women launch small businesses to support their families. And the best part? All of these programs are done in partnership with local church leaders, empowering gospel opportunities. There are so many ways you and your church can get involved. You can host your own Walk for Water. You can pack gift boxes for kids through the Magi program, or host a seed packing event. Learn more and get involved today at hhi.org. That's hhi.org. All right, Ben, I believe you have picked out the Healing Hands International question of the day. And what is that, man?
And that question is this, Travis: what is your, well, you can pick. They both have to do with your they have to do with embarrassing. So okay. What is your most embarrassing phobia, or what embarrassing moment has stuck with you over the years? And those two things could possibly be the same, because it could be embarrassing and now it's a phobia.
So, yeah, that second one is a long list. It could be my first attempt at preaching a sermon. There are probably people out there that says not much has changed, but I'm still trying. Trying to make it preacher.
A lot. It's at least more long-winded than that first one.
Yes, yeah, definitely longer-winded than that one. I guess my most embarrassing, and I kind of like, whatever you feel about masks and gloves, due to my leukemia battle, I was wearing those before it was cool or demanded. But when we were growing up, Ben, I was not a person who had germs on my radar, right?
Not at all.
Drink after people, eat things that had set out for a long time. I relied heavily on the Flintstone vitamins to fight off any, germ. But I will say that has changed drastically, and it can be. And honestly, Ben, I'm sure that you've dealt with this in mental health. I won't go to say that it's a true defined phobia. Maybe it is, but it certainly gets to that point occasionally, especially when
Yeah.
I was in school all the time, and everybody's coming in there, and you know, I guess I have an excuse at least that my
Yeah.
immune system at one point in the last 10 years was like infant level immune system. But that's it. Like my former self would be highly embarrassed with my current self as a germaphobe.
Most people wouldn't know this about me, but there was a lot of anxiety as a kid, and there's even some in adulthood. I mean, I kind of have to fight it. I tell people a lot. I'm anxious every time I get up to preach. I still get nervous. So that doesn't that most people don't think that that's true, but I do. But probably my most embarrassing phobia. Do you remember what I was scared of as a kid? Do you remember like
Ooh,
the food that I was scared of as a kid? It was weird. I was
no.
scared. I was scared of watermelon because of the
Wow.
black seeds in it. And
Okay.
I don't know if I thought they were bugs. I don't know I don't know what my mind was, but for the longest time I would not eat watermelon. And I was scared to death of watermelon. I was scared of storms. Like I wouldn't stand out in a storm. If we were at the ball field and a storm blew up, I was freaking out. Like, I mean, I had a lot of it. I didn't like. I mean, like I wouldn't get dirty. I didn't like dirt. I mean, I was like the total opposite of you as a kid. And
Yeah.
then now I've kind of flip flopped. I like to sit
Yeah.
and watch storms. I can eat watermelon all day long, and I can. I certainly don't mind getting dirty. I love to go and do stuff,
We've
but I probably
brought ourselves to the
to
center, right?
the center. So, but it was as a kid. I mean, I had a lot of that. So I think, but probably the watermelon. Being scared of watermelon was the most embarrassing phobia that I
That
had.
makes me feel better about being scared of aliens. So, which,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Travis would get nightmares just with unsolved mysteries or
yeah,
um,
hear the theme song. Well, anyways, Ben, I appreciate you jumping on, having this discussion. Always, when we get to discuss this, I get a little free mental health boost, and I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, and you guys have a great one.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.